All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to trace an idea that starts with a feeling I think we've all had, this sense that we're kind of split in two, and it ends up in a place that completely changes how we see ourselves and our place in the world.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever just stop and feel like there are two of you? There's the conscious you, the one who's thinking and listening to this right now, and then there's your body, this kind of mysterious biological machine that just does its own thing. The source material we're looking at calls this the intelligent I versus the biological I. And it makes so much sense, right? The intelligent I is the part of you that's amazed by a sunset or plans your day. But the biological I, that's a whole other world. It's digesting your lunch, it's healing a cut, it's making your heart beat, and you have absolutely no conscious control over it. You're just along for the ride. And realizing this leads to this first huge aha moment, a real moment of humility. You're not some ghost in a machine, an intelligence piloting a body like it's a giant robot. No, it's the other way around. You are a biological system that, through some miracle of evolution, produces intelligence.
Now, that's a massive shift in perspective already. But even with that insight, it still feels a little incomplete. It explains the mind-body connection, but it doesn't really connect us to everything else. There's another piece of the puzzle still missing, a much bigger one.
And here is the question that just shatters the whole frame. What if you're not actually a thing? What if our most basic assumption about ourselves, that we are a solid, separate object, is just wrong?
So instead of a thing, imagine you're a pattern. Think about a flame on a candle. Is a flame an object? Not really, it's a process, right? It holds a steady shape, but the actual atoms of wax and oxygen that make it up are constantly changing, flowing through it. Well, that's you. You're a process. And I want to be super clear here. This is not some poetic metaphor. This is literal, biological fact. Every few years, pretty much every atom in your body gets swapped out for a new one. The stuff you're made of is temporary, but the pattern, the information, the structure that is you, that's what stays.
Okay, so if you're a pattern, you can't just exist in thin air, right? A pattern has to be made of something. It needs a medium. And those fundamental, non-negotiable materials and conditions that you need to exist, those are called your substrates.
And what are these substrates? Well, some are obvious. The air you're breathing right now, the water you drink, the food that fuels you. But it gets way bigger than that. It's the stable atmosphere of the entire planet. It's the ecosystems that produce your food and oxygen. And this one is huge. It's other people. The knowledge, the culture, the language that you're using to even think these thoughts, all of it.
So, just realizing we depend on all this stuff is a big deal. But the next step, this is the insight that connects your personal existence to literally everyone and everything else on the planet.
And here it is. You have no private substrates. None. The air you need to live is the same air that 8 billion other people need to live. The global climate that keeps you stable is the same one that keeps everyone else stable. This isn't a call to be a good person. It's not a moral statement. It's just a raw physical fact of our existence. Now, once you really let that sink in, it completely reframes one of the oldest debates we have as a species, the whole idea of me versus the group.
See, we're taught to think of self-interest and the collective good as being in conflict. What's good for me might be bad for everyone else and vice versa. But the substrate view it dissolves that conflict entirely. Because maintaining the shared systems you depend on, the substrates, isn't a sacrifice you make for the group. It is your self-interest.
Think about something like fighting for clean air. From the old point of view, that's altruism, right? A selfless act. But from the substrate view, no way. It's just smart self-preservation. It's keeping your own life support system online. It's enlightened self-interest.
So if that's true, why does it so often feel like there's a conflict? Well, the key, it turns out, is the time horizon. If you're only thinking about the next 5 minutes, yeah, grabbing all the resources for yourself seems like a win. But if you stretch that timeline out to 5 years or 50, suddenly you see that destroying those shared resources means your own pattern, your own life, eventually just stops.
And that leads to this incredibly powerful conclusion. If your time horizon is long enough, the conflict between what's good for you and what's good for the collective, it just vanishes. They become the exact same thing. Okay, so this isn't just a neat little thought experiment. This whole framework of substrate dependence is maybe one of the most critical ideas for us to grasp today. It's urgent. And here's why. Because we are living, right now, in a period where our most fundamental life support systems, our substrates, are breaking down. And it's happening fast.
Just look at our biggest global crises through this lens. Climate change, that's our atmospheric substrate failing. Mass extinctions, that's the ecological substrate unraveling. The intense social polarization, the misinformation campaigns, that's the degradation of our cooperative and knowledge substrates, the very tools we need to solve all the other problems.
And the real crisis underneath all of this is a crisis of perception. The biggest problem is that most of us are walking around completely unaware of this dependence. We've been raised to see ourselves as separate things, not interconnected patterns. We just don't feel it.
Which brings it all back to the source. The author says this is why they became a nature guide. Not to preach about morals or tell people to be good, but to teach a fundamental truth about survival, to help people see their connection. Spreading this awareness is a form of substrate maintenance itself.
I love this metaphor. An oak tree just does it. It maintains its own substrates instinctively. Its leaves fall and create soil, its acorns feed the animals that spread its seeds. It's all been perfected over millions of years of evolution. We don't have that kind of time. But we have something the oak tree doesn't: consciousness. We can understand this dependence and choose to act. And that leads us to a pretty clear mission. It's like a chain reaction. First, you have to receive this knowledge, really let it sink in. Then, you have to apply it to your own life. You improve on it, find new ways to see it. And then, and this is the most crucial part, you have to pass it on. So the final question really isn't for me to answer. It's for you. You're now a link in that chain. You've been given this powerful new lens for seeing reality. The question is, what are you going to do with it?